And at that point, just being completely transparent, I'd messed up my credit file and stuff. I couldn't get any mortgage and stuff at that time and that. And so you've got to have that hunger and desire. If you wait to try and get everything perfect, you're just never going to start.
That is key.
In that way. And at that point, just being completely transparent, I'd messed up my credit file and stuff. I couldn't get any mortgage and stuff at that time and that. And so, we bought it in her name.
Okay.
And that property, we've still actually got that property, but then went on to do a more kind of creative stuff. At that time, you build up your confidence. Yeah, actually, this is possible. I can do this. And so those sort of deals actually, I think it's about April 2008 that system came to an end. In terms you couldn't do it anymore.
I know people are probably thinking, "Oh man, how do I do that one then?" Even I was thinking, "Hey, let's have a chat."
But there's always variations. I said the only certainty in property is constant change. You just got to be nimble and you just adapt. So although that particular way of doing it has finished, these days we talk about no money left in. So you're buying it, but you're getting all your money back out. Right. The end point is the same. You've got a property, you've got none of your money in it, and it's giving you rent every month.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest probably misconception people have about property investors, property developers, that you see big houses, refurbs, videos, and you go, man, they just must be loaded all the time. Yeah. But when you're in it, you realize that most of the time is them being creative, they're raising finance and stuff like that. When did you come up, like, was that the time, was that the point in time in that kind of, you had that eureka moment where it's like, actually, I don't need to be a millionaire to start in property or like have a crazy job?
Yeah. I mean, I realised early that you didn't need a lot of money because I was constantly being told and I'd hear it from other people. But it's a case of, it's okay for you. But I haven't actually got any money. But how is it going to work for me?
That's it.
So the sourcing stuff was tangible in the sense that I knew I'd secured something. I found something for 100 grand. We agreed to buy like 80 grand. Somebody give me a couple of grand for that. I knew that would work, and I was doing that time and time again. But then I thought, I'm going to have to do this forever just to keep my bills paid.
Right.
So how's this going to change? And although we did that first one, no money down, and we did a few other things, but primarily what happened with one deal, which I was selling, the guy's about to get repossessed because there's a lot of repossessions at that time. And I'd negotiated it, secured it, that we can get this deal done. The person that was going to buy the deal off me, he'd bought property from me before. But he wasn't convinced that my numbers were actually what I was saying they were going to be. And I was all being fairly conservative on my numbers because there's loads of stuff around at that time. It was not like what it is now that we were struggling to find the deals. And in the end, what I said, and what I'd worked out, I said, look, if this guy doesn't buy the deal, the guy that I've been talking to, the seller, he's going to get repossessed. And I've spent months on this and I ain't going to get a penny out of it. So I said to him, look, you buy it, don't pay me any fee, and I'll make sure the numbers are what they are, i.e. we'll get the work done in this price. It was only a few grand and we'll get this much rent from it. And then you just pay me a portion of that profit. Yeah. And that was like my first accidental joint venture.
Okay, wow.
And it wasn't a lot of money, like 50 quid, something like that. It was a tiny amount. But the thing, what it did is that the penny dropped that I'm now going to get that money forever. Do you see? And then I started doing a number of those single lets and stuff. So what I do, I cherry pick the really good deals. And I thought, right, we're keeping this one. Where's my investing? Do you know what I mean?
And how would you fund? So they would fund.
I'd say to them, look, you've just got to put everything in. I'm skint.
Okay.
You put all the money in. I'll run around. I'll get it cleaned up, tied up, get the carpets decorated. I'll find the tenants. I'll get it tenanted. And then we just share the profit, whatever it is. Wow. You buy it in your name and stuff and that, and so that's how it started.
You had like an agreement that.
Yeah, so we just had an agreement.
A deed of trust or something like that.
It was a joint venture agreement. We did a few different versions, and then I kind of, as time went on, I should just do what works for that situation.
Yeah.
And now I'm a much more strict and much more structured in how I approach it. By that time, it was you just got to get
hurry up
going.
and just get going.
And you got to have that hunger and desire. If you wait to try and get everything perfect, you're just never going to start.
That is key.
You've just got to think, I know this is possible, and you've got to have it in you that you're going to keep going, and you've got the motivation, the drive. And you'll figure the stuff out. Yeah. And you're never going to get it perfect. We make mistakes today. We don't say we know everything there is to know.
Absolutely.
But if we waited, we would never started.
Fantastic. Saj, you sound like you were really, really good at finding deals at the time. What tips would you give on like how you found deals then, and how you're finding deals now? Has anything changed, or have you pivoted a little bit? Or
Yeah, I mean, this is really interesting because I think this is really relevant right now because, within our group and our mentoring group and stuff and the people I support, we've been talking about this a lot recently. That these dates I gave earlier on, say up to about 2013, that sort of time frame, a lot of the focus was very different from what we did from 2014 to 2021. So up to 2014, 2021, what we were doing mostly was looking for numbers. What I mean by that is you're trawling through Rightmove, you kind of people bringing stuff to you, the agents are bringing stuff to you, and you're just looking at numbers. What am I paying for it? What's the work going to cost? What's it going to be worth? What's our profit? Yeah. That's all you're doing. It doesn't work next. It doesn't work next.
Right.
And 90% plus stuff you just dismiss straight away on the offset. And that's what we've been doing for years. That's the numbers are going to work. If the numbers don't work, we're not interested. But actually, prior to that, what we were doing is, we were looking for somebody who needs to sell, or what we call motivated sellers. Somebody had a need to sell, and those people were going to be flexible in either the price or the way we put the deal together, like creativity, lease options, that kind of thing. Now, if we went and viewed 100 properties and they were all up for 100 grand and we offered 80 grand on every single one, apart from probably getting a slap from everyone, you might find somebody might consider that offer. Whereas actually, the reason they would consider it is because their circumstances are probably different. So if I said to you right now, sell me your house for 20% less than it's worth, why would you? Nobody would do that.
Why would they?
But there are certain circumstances that people will be in where they will be more open to doing that, and often a certain pain. And I'm not talking about desperate people, because desperate people are sometimes, they're illogical, they're emotional. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody, for example, who's got another business opportunity. They need to sell this and move on. They've got tax issues. They're going through a divorce. They might have some business debt. So these people will be keen to work with you to get that property moved. And the reason it changed is that in 2013, 2014, that sort of time, more people started coming back to the market to buy property. So the supply and demand shifted. So where I was tripping over deals every day, but there were no buyers. But in the last few years, there's been plenty of buyers for much fewer stock or quality deals available. But now I think we're changing back to that point. We were joking earlier on that the agents are ringing you back here again.
We had a couple of scenarios of that.
When did that happen? Well, the last few years. And when I first started, we'd take a pack of biscuits, sit down with an agent, have a cup of tea, and be talking for hours because the phone wasn't ringing. Nobody's walking through the door. Damn. It was dead. But I'm not saying it will necessarily go back to that, but there will be aspects of that. So our focus now needs to shift again from numbers back to finding people who are in a certain pain. But now the advantage that we have is tech and data, which we didn't have at that time. So what I mean, for example, is we can use tools now to find if property's up for sale with multiple agents, if property's up for sale and to let. It's been up for sale, it's sold, it came back, it's sold, it came back. We've got properties where there's been several price drops. All of these things are a clue that seller's probably motivated. So if we focus our attention just on those, our chances of success just increase massively because we now focused on a pool of people who are much more likely to give us what we want, which is flexibility in the price, i.e. a discount, or be flexible in how we want to put that deal together, buy now, pay later, all kinds of stuff. 100%.
That's fantastic. So would you say even stuff like, because of what you just said, opportunities like lease options and stuff like that, and this might be a good market to start being flexible and looking into things like that? Or
I mean, so I did about 30 odd lease options. Back in the day. I got my fingers burnt on about 2 of them. So they do sometimes blow up in your face, but actually if I compare how much money we made versus what we lost, it was that a couple of losses are insignificant. The lease options work really well and the circumstances are right. So sometimes I get frustrated with, property trainers. There are a lot of people that train in property, some very good and some just, not so good.
No comment.
Not so good. And the ones sometimes that frustrate me the most are, they're great at teaching, but they don't actually do any of it. So there's people in the last few years teaching lease options and stuff, and I'm thinking, why are you teaching lease options? They don't work in this market. How many people do you know that have done loads of lease options in the last 5-6 years? I'm not saying that you can't do them, but there's very, very few people who's trying to find a needle in a haystack. So why do you waste time and energy on that? Focus on stuff where there's a better opportunity. But now the way the market's going, they will come back because there'll be fewer buyers, so the sellers will be more flexible. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for them to be flexible. Ultimately, for a lease option to work, what we want is for them, and so nobody's interested in buying their property. So I went along doing the usual presentation. Hey, we can buy your house, but it's not what it is. The market's this and that. And they were kind of like, okay, what can you do? And I said, well, it can't be this and it can't be this, and offering some silly price. And they said, okay, when could you do it? And I'm thinking,
oh, okay.
Okay. And I said, well, it'd have to be done like this. And I was trying to explain how the no money down thing would work. And they were like, okay, can get it done by this time frame? And I'm thinking, yeah, we could do that. And actually, I still, although I'd heard other people doing it and I was with other people doing it, I hadn't actually done it myself. So I still struggle with the belief. And my wife is massively supportive. But when I come back to her, oh, we're going to buy a house for £1. We're going to buy a house, no money down. We're going to buy it 50% discount. And she'd think, he's lost the plot and just joined some crazy cult. Come back all happy clappy, this is what we're going to be doing. She's saying, really? And who's going to pay the bills?
Exactly. So even with that deal, tell us a little bit more, because some people might be listening thinking, huh?
Yeah.
No money down. What do you mean by that?
So what we were able to do at that time was if you were able to purchase it at a low enough price. So let me give you some general numbers rather than specific on this, because it will be kind of too messy to try and explain. Let's say the market value is 100,000 and I agree to buy it at say 70,000. And so what we would do, we'd buy it for 70,000 but remortgage it for its full value of 100,000 on the same day.
Okay.
So effectively we'd have a £75,000 mortgage where we only paid 70 grand for the house.
Okay.
All happened on the same day.
Okay.
And so on that particular deal we got about 4 grand back as a cash back.
Wow.
At that point, my wife was a believer. And that money landed in the account. Really? This is possible? But up until that, even I had doubts that we could do it. I knew the theory. I knew other people were doing it. But until you actually do it yourself, there's always that doubt about actually, is it possible? Can you do it?
Yeah.
And so that was the first deal we managed to structure, complete no money down, that we bought in that way. And at that point, just being completely transparent, I'd messed up my credit file and stuff. I couldn't get any mortgage and stuff at that time and that. And so we bought it in her name, and that property, we've still actually got that property, but then went on to do a more kind of creative stuff. At that time, you build up your confidence. Actually, this is possible. I can do this, and so those sort of deals actually, I think it's about April 2008 that system came to an end. You couldn't do it anymore.
I know people are thinking, "Oh man, how do I do that one?" Then even I was thinking, "Hey, let's have a chat."
But there's always variations. I say the only certainty in property is constant change. You just got to be nimble and you just adapt. So although that particular way of doing it has finished, these days we talk about no money left in. So you're buying it, but you gain all your money back out. The end point is the same.